Hello and welcome to the podcast Who Remembers. In this episode, we are remembering the Britpop battle of the bands. It's Blur v Oasis.
The very first draw in Britain's new national lottery.
Sinclair believe their C5, Britain's first mass-produced electrical car,
has something called the internet.
Got sharking, festive, but none of the locals go paddling. Yeah, that's for me.
No bottleless get! I can't speak!
You can't win anything with kids.
Pac-Man, one of the superstar video games in the business.
Did you threaten to overrule him?
Get fooled, you can't get fooled again.
Remember when it's the lowest form of conversation.
Hello, Liam. Before we start, cards on the table. This wasn't supposed to be coming out for this episode, were it? This was supposed to be episode 3.
Yeah, if you stick with us, you'll find that we do sometimes have technical difficulties. And on this occasion, we have lost Michael Barrymore.
Yeah, so we had to re-record the ending of the first episode because we were going to do Michael Barrymore next, the story of Michael Barrymore. Unfortunately, because we're using Zoom at the moment, we had to split up into 2 parts, and I don't know if I pressed record, if I'm going to be completely honest.
We think we did record it, but
yeah.
we haven't got a recording in the file.
No idea where it is. So we were going to go with half Barrymore, but then we thought, fuck it, we'll just re-record. We'll just do it at a later date.
It didn't work. I mean, it's not the most controversial thing that's ever happened around Michael Barrymore, but it's frustrating.
Yeah, it's certainly the top one. So this is Who Remembers podcast, and, you know, we're not into dates and facts and shit, are we, Liam, really, here? We're talking about moments from the past that resonated with us, and hopefully you. Like,
we were there, we remember it. We hope you remember it. If you don't, we still think you could take something from us remembering it. But I think this is, certainly for me, like, I remember it really well, but this is right in your wheelhouse, isn't it? This is your area. If you're on Mastermind, this could be your kind of your question, couldn't it?
Well, like I say, I'm not very good at. I'm a bit like what's his name? Paul Sykes. I'm a bit like Paul Sykes. I don't read daily. I don't read stats. I go out and have a look. But yeah, I think this went as far as changing my life. Not, and obviously, I'm not. I became a massive music fan on the back of this, to the point where I still go to loads of gigs and festivals and spend all my money, most of my money, on music and stuff. And it all came, really. I were into music before UB40 and Queen were my 2 when I was really young, and Madness and all that. And I had now that's what I call dance as well, so a bit cool. And now, well, that's what I call reggae. But it was the battle of Britpop, really, that really got me into music. What do you remember around this time? So we're talking 1994, 95 Britpop.
So you've sort of given me a little bit of pre-prep on this. My memory at the time was I couldn't really see the fuss, and you're going to set the scene and give a lot more flesh on the bones. But I was never and have never been that impressed by Blur. So I never really saw it as a battle. I really liked Oasis. I do to this day. That other than the sort of music that you listen to in the car that your mum or your dad plays when you were little, Oasis are probably the band that I first got into that I still listen to regularly. So yeah, I mean, you're right. Sort of lasting impact on my life this era, but it didn't it didn't give me that jolt that you got into, like, wow, I want to go and experience loads of live music. I just thought Oasis were brilliant, and I didn't think that much of Blur at the time.
Yeah. Well, I'll go through the story, and you can butt in or whatever, and I'll ask some questions along the way about what you were thinking. But this is obviously known as the Battle of Britpop. We're not going to go massively into Britpop, because we might do it at a later date, you know, the rest of Britpop, the best of the rest or whatever.
What defined... You might not know the answer, but what was the definition of Britpop then? Just pop music from Britain? Is it as vague as that?
Yeah, it were just a music journalist into it. So the music journalist John Harris, who wrote a brilliant book called The Last Party, he thinks that Britpop started with the Blur song Pop Scene that I sent you just before we recorded, actually. Yeah. He thinks that's when Britpop started, and it just became a saying.
But there's more to it than just pop from Britain, wasn't there? It sort of had to have that indie feel to
guitars. Yeah. Because I don't think you'd have classed Spice Girls as Britpop, or, you know, certainly not Take That or anything like that. But I think Suede were probably the first band out of the clutch of what people call Britpop, but they got called Britpop, and they used to get like attention from magazines and stuff like that. Their debut album actually became the fastest selling in UK history in 1993. Got beat by definitely maybe the year after, but they were the biggest one out of the lot. Suede, you're a fan of Suede? I'm not a massive fan of Suede, I have to admit.
Yeah, I don't mind him. I like some of their songs. Beautiful
I don't like
ones.
his voice.
No, I don't mind it. But this was an era though, where, and I don't know if it's just because we're old chaps now.
Big time.
Yeah, we've hit the 40 mark now.
Yeah, big time.
But yeah, I remember at the time, just a lot of sort of, what's the word, like vibrancy. Like they were on magazine covers and
it's
newspapers.
Interesting. This, yeah.
I just remember sort of you couldn't but be aware of it. Whereas now I don't feel that now in the music industry anymore.
Yeah, man, I don't know how much is that. Is when them Facebook posts that you get, like, remember at 70s you could leave your door wide open and no one came in. Do you know what I mean? You could, I don't want to. Maybe we are getting to that stage. I don't know. I'd like to talk to people who were from the 80s or like grew up in the 80s, teenage years in the 80s, and the people who grew up after the 90s. Because to me, it's the best era, but I grew up in that era, and I want to know how much is that just me literally going, ooh, remembers, or it was actually that good.
Yeah, I don't know. We can only live our own lives, can't we?
Let us know. Let us know in the comments. Smash a like.
Like and subscribe. Yeah.
So, 1994. Anyway, Blur were really struggling. They'd had a hit in '91 with "There's No Other Way." There's no other way. But their debut album, Leisure, wasn't that well received, and the second album, Modern Life is Rubbish, sold pretty poorly. And grunge was the biggest scene in Britain. And it sort of changed overnight, where Girls and Boys by Blur became a really unexpected top 5 hit in March 1994. And the month after that, Kurt Cobain died. Just as Blur, basically the week before or whatever, that Blur released Part Life. And it all changed. All that grunge sound.
The end of grunge.
The end of grunge, and it seems to just happen. Girls and Boys came out. I'm not saying that's why Kurt Cobain killed himself, but like a month later, he died. He obviously shot himself. And then Part Life came out, and Blur were the biggest band in Britain throughout 1994. So that just blows
my mind now. I never felt that. Like I don't doubt your facts. I'm sure that's true, but it never felt to me like there was any sort of real battle there. I saw Blur as a bit small time.
Yeah, well, I mean, Alan McGee, Oasis Creation Records founder and what Oasis record label. He said, but at this point, Blur were 4 times bigger than Oasis, and I don't know how he's measured that, whether that means sales or whatever. But Part Life, look, Oasis just burst onto the scene, to quote Micah Richards. Live Forever had gone top 10. That was the 3rd single, and definitely maybe did become the fastest selling British album of all time, which beat Suede from the year before. But And by the way, they held that until 2006, which is... Wow. It's not like that were being broken all the time. Do you know who broke it? 2006? Pretty obvious. Another band.
2006. Oh, hold on. It's not great listening, is it? I'm just trying to think what was happening around 2006. So we were...
You know this.
Some huge phenomenon. Is it some sort of something related to one of the reality TV shows?
No. I don't know how I found that. I'll tell you the band. It's the Arctic Monkeys.
Biggest selling it? British?
Biggest selling debut album, 2000, yeah.
Debut, right, okay.
Debut album last night, these 2 bouncers, and one of them.
I'm still surprised by that, though.
I saw someone say that
I don't see that as obvious, by the way.
Oh, what, Arctic Monkeys? I think the Arctic Monkeys are the only band that sort of got close to that hype that Oasis got.
Yeah, but we were in the sort of middle of the Sheffield bubble, weren't we? I didn't know they had that initial worldwide success.
Yeah, they're pretty big. Obviously, even in America, I think they sold possibly more than Oasis in America. I'm not sure. I saw someone say that they should re-record their first album with his new style. Like, last night, these 2 bouncers... like in his imagine that. Amazing.
I bet that you look good on the dance floor.
The dance floor.
I don't think it'd be a hit.
I'm a bum. I'm in trouble again. I can imagine it. Anyway, it soon became clear that despite all these other bands popping up and what were classed as Britpop, like Elastica and Pulp, who started in the 80s. I know you're a big fan of the early 80s Pulp
I wasn't
stuff,
aware of it until you sent it me maybe 18 months ago. But yeah, the early stuff's quite sort of Smithsy, I think. It's
really
very
Smithsy,
good.
yeah. They came out before the Smiths, Pulp. Pulp released an album before the Smiths did. Mad. Echo Belly were another one.
Would Supergrass and Cast, are they
yeah, they're all
era?
yeah. Supergrass, Cast, Dodgy, they were involved. If it's good enough for you, it's good. Menswear, there were loads of them. But it was pretty clear that Oasis and Blur were by far the most popular. Pulp were big, but Oasis and Blur were just miles bigger. Blur won Best Band at 1994 Brit Awards, and Damon came on stage and said, "I think this should have been shared with Oasis." And he genuinely meant it, though. It wasn't like being a dick. So
I don't like that, though.
Yeah, you're not reckon? You think it's a bit...
Just own your success. Just say...
I think it should have been shared with Oasis.
Well, I suppose it's a nice thing. I just don't like it.
Well, the first signs of a rivalry really hit the press when Oasis got their first number one in April 95, as some might say. Some might say. And... at the celebration party, Damon and Albarn attended to congratulate them, only to be, I've read this is like quoted, only to be confronted by Liam Gallagher, who was constantly saying, "We're fucking number one, mate," right in his face. After that, Albarn said he just wanted to get the better of them. And that is, in terms of we'll never really know, because how it started, because in recent years, Noel Gallagher and Alan McGee have both said that the fallout started with Liam and Damon both sort of going after the same girl or bedding the same girl. So I don't know if there were a few things, murmuring. But in terms of the press, that's the first sort of sign that we got where he went to say, "Oh, well done, Liam." And Liam said, "Yeah, you've not had a fucking number one, have you, you prick?"
Number one, mate, this time.
So fucking Damon's pissed off. And Oasis, when Oasis scheduled their next single, followed some might say Roll With It, Damon, or Food Records, which were Blur's record label, probably Damon, decided to put Country House, which were going to be their next single, out on the same day. Oasis moved it back because they said, "Look, we've got the two biggest bands in England here. What's the point of putting them out on the same day? Because it'll just affect both sales. You know what I mean? Young kids can probably only afford to buy one." Fucking Blur moved it back again. So it was proper.
So they wanted the fight then, didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah. So they were like, no. So then Oasis said, "Well, fuck it." And Creation Records did try and talk Noel Gallagher down from... He says, "I'll just move it back again." And Noel were like, "No, we'll do it. We'll go for it." So Blur were really, really
What was the date, by the way, then? Sorry. What was the
so
it pushed it back, but what was the actual date it was released?
August the 14th, 1995. And this is why it's so resonant in my eyes, in my head, should I say, is because it's summer. Do you know what I mean? Every day was sunny in that for me. Do you know what I mean? In that era. These two fucking songs were going head to head. You had Supergrass out and Pulp and all these amazing bands.
Yeah, we'd gone to secondary school, got the first year out of the way.
Yeah.
Playing football on the fields and like you say, every day were hot and sunny, wasn't it?
Before I forget, do you know what the number 3 song was when away? Because obviously Blur and Oasis both got number 1 and 2 slots in this battle. And I looked at this recently and I forgot.
No, I think you're in danger of making me look stupid with some of these.
Well, no, because I don't know if anyone would have got that. You remember the original? "I love you, baby. I love you, baby." Yeah, "I love you, baby."
Who did that? The original?
The original. I think that's the only song that he did. I could be wrong with that.
Oh, is it called the original?
No. The artists were called the original. The song is called "I Love You, Baby. I Love You, Baby."
Yeah, good song.
"I Love You, Baby." Yeah. Do you like the songs anyway? Oh, yeah, a lot of repetition. So Roll With It and Country House go head to head. I mean, I would ask you, I know the answer to this because we've talked about it before. You think both of these songs are pretty shit by the standards of the bands, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about before that I'm probably a unique Oasis fan. I think you've said before that you don't believe there's another Oasis fan in the world who has the same 2 favourite Oasis songs as me.
No, these are mad. Yeah.
So, Talk Tonight and She Is Love are my 2 favourite.
Talk Tonight, yeah. She Is Love is a crazy shout. People say it sounds like Free Love Freeway by David Brennan.
Yeah.
Free love on the Free Love Freeway.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, that makes me like it more. But yeah, no, Roll With It's all right. It's all right. I don't mind.
It's just Oasis by numbers, though, isn't it? It's just like I imagine he wrote it in about a second.
It is like AI Oasis, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I don't think Country House is a bad song. I don't like the delivery of the song. It's a bit like I've sort of said about Bob Dylan. Yeah, I just don't get some of the pronunciations of the vowels, and I just find it irritating. Even to this day, like I would never, if it came on the radio in the car, I would never leave it playing. I would always skip to another station because not like fucking Blur. I don't mind Blur; they're fine. I just can't.
Yeah.
I don't like this song to listen to. It's not nice on your ears.
They were a great line because there's a line in Country
He's
House
got a bag on his chest, so he needs a lot of rest in the country.
Yeah.
Why is he singing it like
the country? But yeah, he's there's a line in it where he goes, he's got morning glory and life's a different story. And they asked Noel Gallagher, what did you think? And he goes, I tried to fit the title of one of their songs in one of my songs, but I couldn't fit bag of shit anywhere. Imagine that. But I mean, the Great Escape.
Do you think there's any implication there that he? So what's the story, Morning Glory? Then is he saying?
I don't think so. No, because they came out at the same time. They were recording it at the same time. I think that's just a weird because it's not a popular phrase. It certainly weren't then, as far as I know. Morning Glory. No. It's obviously known as like it's slang for having an hard on, isn't it?
Yeah, waking up aroused, I would say.
Yeah. But talking of Morning Glory, why the fuck didn't Oasis release that instead of Roll With It? Or Champagne Supernova? Or She's Electric? Or all these fucking Hello? You know what I mean? All these songs are so much better than Roll With It.
Yeah, a weird choice to go head to head. And I think that's why I'd say it's quite brave of Oasis, because I don't know how well they rated it. Maybe Noel probably thinks
they must have. I mean, Rocking Chair were a B-side. Rocking Chair was a B-side.
Is a far better song than Roll With It, yeah.
That should have been. I mean, like, and even Blur, to be fair, it weren't a great album, Great Escape, but they had the Universal. Do you know, it really get a British Gas advert now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a far better song, yeah.
So anyway, like I said, August 14th, 1995, Roll With It and Country House go head to head, and this was.
Do you remember watching it on Top of the Pops?
Yeah. Can you remember it being on the news, the main news? Because I do. It were on the front page of all the newspapers and everything, and it felt. I don't know if this were like just me because I were into it, but. It felt a little bit like when you were at school, you had to pick a team. Do you know what I mean? Like, you had to it's like that Father Ted thing, innit? Are you Blur or Oasis? That's the terrible Irish accent. What was that? Blur or Oasis?
Sound like the IT guy at the office. Like,
I sound like Lloyd Grossman. Blur or Oasis. Yeah.
I think maybe that sort of fed into it as well, because I think all of my sort of my circle, my close circle of friends and family, I think everybody just preferred away. I just think there was I don't recall being mates with any Blur fans at the time.
I remember because people don't know, I used to go to school with your missus, and I remember that. I don't know if she were. I'm pretty sure she preferred Blur. I can't really remember, but I do remember the girls in our class having Damon Albarn on their pencil cases and what have you. Do you know what I mean? Rather than Liam Gallagher, I think he was quite I think at that point it was seen as like the more handsome chap of the two. So I think he might have got the girl.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Probably the female favourite. Yeah.
But like I say, before this, I was into music, but this made me an obsessive. I was so locked into this all week, and I genuinely couldn't choose a favourite. I thought, obviously at this point, I thought they were both brilliant songs because I'd not really heard anything like that, if you know what I mean. Like if there's a modern band coming out with songs like so catchy like that. I did prefer Country House, though, I have to admit. But this made me get into, maybe in Part Life, and for want of shit expression, shaped my musical journey. That's a terrible, I don't like that, but you know what I mean. But these two.
So for all your success you've had today is thanks to Oasis and Blur.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Without Living with Maidley theme tune, that would never have happened. Imagine that if you went for Country House versus Roll With It. But through this, I got into like the Beatles, the Stones, fucking Kinks, Sex Pistols, all these bands. And it all sparked from this. So it's a massive sort of thing for me. And anyway, you do know I got to number one. We know who won this battle. It was the best week for UK sales in a decade. And Country, how many do you have to get now to get to number one?
I think it's double 10. Figures, isn't it?
About 15. I think if we pushed our theme tune for this, we possibly get a top 40. Blur's Country House sold 274,000 copies in the first week.
Crazy.
And Roll With It sold 216,000. So they charted at number 1 and number 2, respectively. So odd lines on the original.
But this was just before, like, I mean, I was never into it as much as you, but the singles felt really accessible then. Like, you could nip into town and buy a single for like £2.60 or whatever it was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I think 99p for a cassette. I'm pretty sure. Just on that, by the way, controversies. See what you think of this. Noel Gallagher said there were a barcode issue with a lot of the Roll With It singles, and he believes that a lot of the sales didn't actually go through. Do you think that's just sour grapes?
But how would he know? I don't understand what that means. Like, how would it be a recorded sale then? If how would he know they sold it if they didn't record it as a sold?
He just said there were some CDs that were given out, and the barcode had an issue, so it probably wouldn't have scanned. I don't know if that's just sour grapes.
I don't think it makes sense. I think you'd have to scan the barcode for it to pay for it. You won't just say, "Yeah, nothing's coming up," but just give us £3 and take it.
Imagine that biggest scratch short battle, like fucking of the decade. And like, whatever.
I mean, he might know something we don't, but he's far closer to it. Well, it's certainly closer to it than I was. But I don't know anything about any barcodes.
Imagine if you were closer to it somehow. Oh yeah, by the way, we're also managing both bands at this point. But this is weird. This is like something that I think he has got to point out. Country House. There were 2 different versions of Country House. I've heard 2 different versions of Country House, and they featured different B-sides, and both of them counted towards the final sales. So, if you're a massive Blur fan, you're getting both.
You'd have to buy both. Yeah.
But to be honest, in the end, I think Country House was just simply the more catchier to the casual music fan.
Yeah, that's interesting though. Like, is that a bit sort of?
Yeah, they used to be able to do it. Gary Barlow once, I think he had 3. Do you know for Keep On Walking Down That Open Road? I'm pretty sure, because I used to go into HMV a lot, and I remember like they were I'm sure it was that song. There were 3 different single versions. I'm like, what's he doing? Like, just put them on an album. Why you got 3 singles out?
This is my 3rd version of the song where I'm going to sing.
Is that one of the most? Do you remember like when he left Take That, and everyone thought I was going to do a George Michael? You know what I mean? George, like, because he obviously songwriter and everything. It's got to be the most disappointing return for any like sort of. No one thought his songs were going to be that boring once he'd left.
I think he'd used a lot of his hits up. I know he'd written some really good stuff as a younger chap, and then it just weren't there for him anymore, so he'd given all his hits out.
Yeah, Open Road. It's not a good song. Keep on walking down that open road, and obviously Robbie fucks him up. We might do that actually when Robbie left Take That. Anyway, despite so after all the releases, it didn't calm down really. Blur went on Top of the Pops. You're asking about Top of the Pops, and Blur bassist Alex James wore an Oasis t-shirt. So do you think that's a bit cheeky?
Yeah, he's that sort of chap though, and he's got that in him. He's a winemaker or something now.
Cheese man, isn't he?
Cheese maker.
Loves his cheese. But he got really nasty when Noel Gallagher said that he hoped Damon Albarn and Alex James caught AIDS and died before retracting the comment.
We had a mate actually. We didn't go to his birthday.
Yeah. It wasn't Noel Gallagher.
No. He sent a message to what? So he was doing a birthday thing, but he'd arranged it. I think short notice and at a place that kind of didn't work, and people had other stuff on, and also kind of were losing touch with him at the time. But he asked us all to this thing, and nobody went basically, which is obviously not great on our part.
No, it weren't that. He organised his birthday for the week before, and we all went on that, but he couldn't make it for his own birthday.
So he did
the week later. He goes, "Oh, we'll do it week after," and everyone was saying, "I can't now. I've got plans." Yeah.
Yeah, so he picked out one of the sort of 5 or 6 of us and sent a message to him saying, "You lot can all have cancer." And he named one by one who he thought could have cancer. And then about 2 hours later, because I'd escaped it at this point, he sent a message saying, "Yeah, Liam can have it as well."
Yeah.
Dwelling on it for 2 hours.
Like 2 hours later, oh yeah, and Liam can have it as well. Yeah, he got pissed on his own and got angry and wished death upon anyone. So you know, it's not just Noel Gallagher who says things in the. I want to say
in the heat of the moment, yeah.
But 2 hours though, he was like stewing on it. Graham Coxon, Blur guitarist at the celebration party for Blur, tried to jump out of a window, and he says that he felt like he was forced into enjoying the moment. He said it was a hollow, pointless victory, and he just wanted to be alone.
You what? So,
yeah, he tried to jump out of a window.
I don't know how you'd. What does he mean?
He got like talked down, like I think it was Damon actually
on the ledge.
Yeah, I don't think it was like a suicide attempt, but I think he wanted to. He says that he basically wanted someone to notice these real people involved.
To do it though, like,
maybe it was just a cry for help. Maybe
made me think of once. So we've got a bulldog, an old English bulldog, and when we got a new Hoover that were a lot louder than the old one, I started using that, and she ran and jumped at the window, but just smashed into it and sort of fell backwards.
Suicide attempt.
Just sort of ran and jumped out a window.
Yeah, so
but I think fine. No dogs were.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah. I think what he was trying to say, because he said later that we're almost like they weren't people. It were all these record company people saying, "Brilliant, wait." And they were like, "Hang on, do you know what I mean? We're real people." And I think it was probably a cry for help, as if to say.
But is there some argument though that obviously they got lost in this moment then seemingly, but
I'll get onto that, but yeah, I mean, whatever you think, the hype, it was terrible marketing for Blur long term, but at this moment they'd obviously won the battle. So, like you say, I mean, they undoubtedly lost the war, Blur. This is what's so interesting, I think, about this story is Blur won it. Blur's got the cock of the war. You know what I mean? He's wearing his Oasis t-shirt. Noel Gallagher's losing plot, saying fucking helps people get AIDS and stuff. But then Morning Glory came out, the album, and it just fucking dwarfed The Great Escape in terms of sales. And Oasis became the biggest band in England by far, arguably the biggest band since the Beatles at that point. They were huge for that moment
year. Was absolutely huge. I remember. My brother actually bought the album. I didn't buy it. And we used to listen to it all the time. And I remember my mate's dad, I think he got a copied version of it.
Yeah, my dad liked it. And he only liked purely black soul music.
Well, he was certainly wasn't into this anyway. But yeah, he loved it.
By the way, the reason I said black soul music is because he will not listen to white soul music. It has to be,
not authentic.
So, anyway, no, I don't think it's authentic enough.
But anyway. I remember like telling him, "Oh yeah, it's really good because in the sort of CD sleeve, it's got all the lyrics in it." And he went, "Oh, can I borrow it?" And I remember him copying, handwriting them all out, so he'd got all the lyrics.
Yeah, crazy that.
Yeah, it's like absolute phenomenon.
And obviously, it peaked when they paid to 250,000 people at Nebworth. 4% of the population tried for tickets for that, and they could have sold out 2 weeks solid at Nebworth, they only did 2 nights. They could have done 2 weeks. Liam said they should still be playing now. just keep going, playing it forever.
I don't think they should mention that stat, though, because that doesn't sound that impressive to me. 4% of the population.
4% of the population. You think about what's 4% of 60 million? You're the mathematician out of the two of us.
What's 1% then? It'd be 0.06 million. So how many? 4?
Yeah, so it's about 2.4 million or something.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people wanting to go to one single gig. This is not a tour. That's just one gig in the middle of some fucking field somewhere. Anyway, so they were massive.
I imagine it'd be like every 1 in 2. I suppose this is including like babies and old people and stuff, innit? Yeah.
Yeah, good point. Yeah. Like us nowadays. So anyway, but on the other hand, Blur were a national joke because Oasis were the coolest band going, and they just continued to take the piss out of Blur. So it made Blur the least cool band. Like of the moment, they'd gone from winning this battle to literally a couple of months later to just being like a fucking national joke. So like when Oasis won Brit Awards, they all sang, what did they say? Like they said, I want to thank all the people, shite life. Do you know what I mean? It was just constantly. Yeah. It was really childish, but it was just showing again how much Oasis had beat Blur, and they were pointing at him, laughing at him. And Damon said about this time, he said, Noel Gallagher used to take the piss out of me constantly, and it really, really hurt. Oasis were like the bullies that I used to put up with at school. So it's just, But
it sort of felt like that they almost tried to bully the bully, and it just came back on them.
That's what it is, yeah.
They got too cocky with the wrong person, and it came back to bite them.
I don't think they understood as well. I don't think they couldn't handle fame anywhere near as well as Oasis, neither. This were amazing for Oasis.
The thing as well is, though, by the way, you know, if you want to sort of do like trash talk and anger, they were quite a sort of little group of posh boys coming up against sort of quite rough council estate guys. And
I don't think they ever got over that. Yeah, because it became, whatever you think of the bands, it did became more of a, well, Oasis are cooler because they're harder, you know, like to younger people, and they're going to just say you're a prick, and people love all that sort of stuff. Whereas
I think even going, like not that they kind of ever came to a physical fight, but like I can imagine Damon sort of saying, yeah, well, maybe they live in a dirty house, and him saying, well, fuck like... you, man, you fucking wanker. Like I don't know.
I'm going to alienate a lot of Wednesday supporters who won't listen to us, but it's a bit like Chris Wilder and Danny Roll. You might say Danny Roll's got the more class. You might say Danny Roll's like got the is more arty. But he's going, well, let's see who wins the next game. Whereas he's on a table singing sausage, sausage rolls. You know what I mean? He's got like all the people like, look, like I said, this was fucking awful for Blur. They went into it as the biggest band in England. They ended it as just being I mean, they were still commercially successful after, as I'll get onto, but they were just a joke. They were the butt of everybody's jokes because of this battle that they won.
But surely, though, they still had they weren't the butt of everyone's joke, were they? Because people still loved Blur.
Yeah,
but your average man on the street sort of lost interest in Blur, didn't they? And they were all about Oasis, I think.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'd say, I don't know who they took the piss out of more Oasis. It were either Blur or Phil Collins. I like both of them. But Phil Collins were fucking so uncool at this period, weren't they? I mean, he's not amazingly cool now, but this was the peak of Phil Collins' uncoolness. And a lot of that were because Oasis were the biggest band in England, and they were just slagging him off all the time. And Blur were like put into that category. Phil Collins still sold loads of records, but he weren't cool.
Yeah. No, it's interesting, isn't it? That like, well, I hope it is because that's the point of the episode. But yeah, that like you say, that they won the big battle, but actually it just led to an absolute. Do you think
mentally as well? I think not just commercially.
Do you think sort of? I don't know if you've sort of already touched on this then, but do you think directly winning that battle caused their down? Do you think if they'd lost to Oasis, that they'd have been a little bit more humble? People maybe would have felt a little bit sorry for them and thought, well, they're good, they're just not as good as Oasis. But
maybe.
I think it was the sort of cockiness of winning it that killed them ultimately.
No, I just think going in against Oasis were a terrible idea. I mean, it was just a really. I mean, it could have. I don't know, an alternative timeline. Maybe it could have worked out for him. And Oasis are the one sort of. Do you know what I mean? Like,
but I don't think Blur have that sound that felt like they could ever have gone on to any huge success.
I know what you mean. There were no universal appeal. I think
I can't think of a stadium song that Blur have done. I can't imagine them selling out a Nebworth. What would they play?
Well, they have sold out Wembley recently. Well, I mean, song 2, which is what they came back with, sort of.
What, they just play that over and over again for
now. But this is what a lot of people would say they're a better band or a more credible artist these days than Oasis, because, so in 1997, they weren't cool anymore, but they changed the sound and they went to this song, Woohoo, which is completely different if you think about it. It's country house, isn't it, and all that sort of stuff. And their album, Blur, which came out in 97, and that were massive for him. Beat Up Home as well. That's another good song. Oasis released being
Coffee and TV, because that's my favourite Blur song.
That's off 13, but yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, that's brilliant. So Blur sort of weren't commercially ever successful, but they were sort of still coming out with these good songs and getting good reviews. Oasis released Be Here Now, which was absolutely huge again in terms of sales, but then they become a bit of a joke. By 1998, it was pretty uncool to like Oasis. It had sort of turned a little bit, and Britpop were over, and you know what I mean? And people had sort of said, hang on, why did everyone lose the shit to this band who just ripped the Beatles off? Not what I think, but do you know what I mean? That's what.
So is that when we're sort of saying the build-up was 94, the big battle was 95, and then
by 98 they were both fucked.
By 98 they were both, absolutely exhausted.
Yeah, and Pulp had split up pretty much, but they had split up, but he'd had a breakdown, Jarvis. Britpop were just absolutely hammered. The only band who came out of that period, really, two of them were Radiohead and The Verve. They weren't really Britpop at all. Well, they weren't Britpop at all, but it was same era. And those two, and people put it down a lot of it to the Queen of Hearts dying as well. They said the mood of the nation was not celebratory anymore. And I do think something happened in 97 that you lost that optimism.
Yeah. So our Queen of Hearts was directly involved.
So today, they're all mates. Well, I said they're all mates. Like, tongue-in-cheek, Alex James said, Blur won the battle, Oasis won the war, but Blur won the campaign. But I don't know. Like I say, they became quite critically acclaimed and sort of experimenting and stuff, and Oasis just carried on with the same... They were nowhere near as good as the first two albums, obviously, but they're still fucking miles bigger. But the demand
for Oasis now is huge.
Yeah, they're miles bigger. Miles bigger. But Noel and Damon are friends now. Damon says they never, ever talk about the rivalry, which I imagine that being so weird. Just like we said it last week, I think, where, it's like Germany in the war. What happened in 1995? Nothing happened in 1995. We don't talk about 1995. Nothing happened at all.
Who do you think would rather not talk about it more? Because I think Noel would hate that they lost the battle.
Yeah, but Damon and Elevate, it probably... Do you know, like,
I reckon they don't want to talk about it, because if Damon mentions that they won the battle, that Noel will then go on to ridicule him for the years it came.
But imagine if they have another battle. That's what they should do. Another battle, like, come out again.
2025.
Yeah. They collaborated together on a Gorillaz track, which I sent you before. Did you like that track?
It's all right.
Got the power.
I quite like the chorus. Right. I don't like the woman shouting on it.
Yeah, there's a lot of choir and it's a decent song.
It's not bad.
And Graham Coxon supported Noel in 2012. Liam, as far as I know, isn't mates with him, and every time on Twitter, we might.
I'm not sure Liam's got any mates though.
I think he's got loads of mates, but I don't know. But every time he refers to Damon Albarn, he always calls him Dermot, like all the time. Like on Twitter, he'll say he's got a new song out, and he Dermot. He's so unfunny, but it's proper.
Noel
funny.
Gallagher is clearly. How can I sort of word it? Because he's clearly a bit of a knob in the sense that he's really sort of passionate about what he believes in, but. It blows my mind that he's good mates with Andy Goldstein, who's like the same knob but from a Man United stance. Like,
yeah.
That they can be mates shows me that at least, despite how unbelievably biased they both are, that they can at least kind of come together and have a bit of banter. So yeah,
we've spoken before in the past that we think Noel Gallagher is only in to Man City and Oasis, not even music and football, just Oasis and Man City.
I don't think he cares about anything else.
Just
you never see him in like a nice restaurant or like. I just think it's either Man City or Oasis or High Flying Birds.
Or High Flying Birds, obviously, as well. But obviously, Oasis have reformed. We should have probably fucking put this out. We'll just reshare it again when they finally get. In fact, we could do Oasis at Nebworth as another episode.
I think we might do a Liam v Noel episode, which is obviously less sort of nostalgic, but it's still.
Well, it is. Yeah, Liam v Noel. Have you heard the Wibbling rivalry CD where it's just them arguing for 15 minutes? It got in the charts.
No,
it's just that it's brilliant. It's just them just swearing at each other constantly, just like having a go. But so that's Blur and Oasis. I think of the songs, I still think Country House is a better song slightly, but they're both pretty crap.
Just out of interest, because I've named my favourite two Oasis songs are already named, She Is Love and Talk Tonight. Favourite two Blur songs would be Coffee on TV and it'd have to be Song 2. I don't know enough else by them. What's yours? Two favourite tracks by each.
Champagne Supernova is my favourite Oasis track. I think that's an excellent song. And then my second favourite Oasis track, I might go.
Can I predict what I think it might be?
Go on.
I think you like the sort of more harsher sort of. I think you might go Cigarettes and Alcohol.
That'd be up there.
Maybe Fucking in the Bushes, maybe.
No, I think Live Forever. I think I'd go Champagne Supernova.
Oh, really? So I would never have gone that. I think that's too sort of melodic.
And whatever's up there as well. And Don't Look Back in Anger is fucking amazing. It's just been played that many times.
Yeah.
And my favourite two Blur songs, I'd probably go. That is difficult. That
I have to say the best of Blur.
The best of Blur. I think I would go for End of a Century of Part Life, brilliant song, and maybe Bad Head off that album's really good as well. Part Life's a great album, to be fair. So yeah, probably my favourite two.
Do you remember as well, just on Part Life as well, where
Part Life. It's the same guy.
Yeah, brilliant. I don't know the words well enough, but so maybe you can do the bit where he comes in. But we'd said to him, we've put you on karaoke. He went, I'm not doing it. It was a pub in Dronfield. Said, yeah, no, we signed you up. You've got to come down and do it. He said, no, honestly, guys, I'm not doing it. I've only had a couple of beers. I'm not. We were sort of shepherding him towards the stage. and we put the microphone in his hand and sort of shoved him up onto the stage. And at the second the music kicked in, he went straight into this. You missed it. You're supposed to do the confidence.
Oh, I thought you were going to play.
Confidence is a.
Sorry, I thought you were going to play a clip.
No, I want you to do it.
All right, hang on. Yeah, it's ruined.
It went straight in to this.
Confidence is a I don't know what the lyrics are.
Oh, gosh, that's completely backfired.
Confidence is a. What is it?
Park life.
I know that bit. What does it mean?
Confidence is a I think it's something like it's a preferential statement of the man who says that he's not.
You sound like Simon Jordan. You're not encouraging your convictions.
You've not squared the circle.
Part life lyrics. Give me a minute. It starts with oi. Confidence is a fucking hell.
Preferential preference.
Confidence is a preference for the habitual voyeur of what is known as. Say, you wouldn't get that from Oasis, would you?
No, but he knew. The funny bit is he knew the song well enough to go straight into that.
Yeah. There were no lyrics on screen. He went,
it's killed the anecdote, but yeah,
it's absolutely ruined the anecdote. But anyway, next episode, Liam, if we record it right, listen up, Ryan, because he's been waiting for this for ages.
Oh yeah, of course. I thought you were going to say Barrymore, but obviously we're not re-recording that yet, are we?
No, we're going to re-record.
Ryan's not been waiting for Barrymore for ages. So the next one is The Sopranos, and we are going to do it. So we're going to remember the ending of Sopranos, but that is going to open the floodgates, the sluice gates for us to just remember general Sopranos.
I've been watching loads of Sopranos recently, and to the point where I'm going to say something out of line to someone, because our mate were talking about how someone in his team at work had started crying like this bloke. And first thing with Phil Leotardo when he goes, to cry like a fucking woman, it's a fucking disgrace. I'm going to say something like that because I've been watching so many clips of it, and I think it's definitely my favourite ever show, I think.
Oh, I think there's going to be a lot of that.
Oh yeah, so we're gonna talk about the final episode, but we'll build up towards what happened in the final. The final scene, really.
Yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to remember the ending to Sopranos. We're going to give our thoughts on it because I think there is almost an unofficial sort of.
Yeah, he's dead.
Here's what it.
That's
means.
it. Don't have to tune in.
Yeah,
he's dead. He's not dead.
But yeah, we're going to remember at the ending, talk about what we feel about that after the full build up of everything, go through some of the characters, talk about where the family had got to that sort of stance. Maybe even do a where would they be now? I don't know.
Yeah, I'd like to do that. I would like to talk about. I mean, not very. There's only fucking Paulie left. But I don't know what the crew would be up to be honest. But yeah, but we'll talk about it and we'll go because obviously it's such a huge series to try and do in one episode. We're just going to sort of concentrate on the ending and work his way around that. But thank you for today, Liam, for nostalging
and for anyone listening to this when it goes out, we are going to try and release the first couple at the same time or very close together.
Yeah.
But if you listen to this, there should be a bit of a gap to the next episode. So find us on Twitter. There's a thing at the end where we're going to tell you where to find us. But yeah, send us a message. Tell us your Sopranos memories, the standout memories. It can be a moment, a character, anything. We're more than happy to try and remember it with you.
It's mad that I can't even remember the fucking lyrics to Part Life, to be completely honest. It doesn't help. But if you've got anything that you want us to remember, let us know. Thank you, Liam.
Good evening.
Thank you for listening to Who Remembers. If you want to get in touch with us, you can find us at whorememberspod@outlook.com. If you are a right-wing fascist, you can find us on Twitter at whorememberspod. Or if you're a wokener, you can find us on Blue Sky at whorememberspod. Once again, thank you for listening, and we will see you next time for more remembering.